Hello, community. Welcome to another Keeping It Real with Dr. Anita podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Anita, and this month we're getting our hearts and minds ready to vote. Our theme for the month is Every Voice and Every Vote Matters. From now until Election Day, we're going to spend time unpacking this theme. But before I go any farther, let me be clear. Today's podcast is not about getting into politics. What I do want to get into is thinking about your voice and how your voice will influence your vote. By now, we've heard this statement a lot. This year's election is going to be consequential. We say that every election season, but this year, the word consequential seems to carry even more weight. There isn't anyone in America that doesn't agree that this election is indeed significant for a number of reasons. Your vote will speak to the volatility around race relations and demonstrate your understanding about the correlation between the intent behind the sentiment of defund the police and the very real impact such a move would have on individuals and society at large. Your vote will speak to the uncertainty around the potentially deadly phase 2 of the COVID-19 pandemic, how soon a vaccine will be available to the masses, and how confident anyone will be in taking it. Your vote will speak to the complexity around the economy, how much more stimulus should be distributed, to whom, in what amounts, and for how long. Your vote will speak to the ambiguity about whether and when we will ever return to what we used to call normal, and how much longer we will debate temporarily suspending our individual rights to not wear a mask in exchange for taking the simple step of wearing a mask in the short term for the long-term greater good of society so that we can all get back to normal in a way that will hopefully last. If we all take to heart the fact that every voice and every vote matters, then we must also consider that what makes this year's election consequential, significant, important, are the consequences of our individual vote as an American citizen that impacts us as a collective United States of America and our social condition. That being the case, I urge you to be clear about your voice and how your voice will be reflected in your vote. Your voice may be something you've never really given much thought of before, but you do have a voice, and you need to be clear about what that voice is so you can begin to value your own voice. Otherwise, how will others value it? Think of it this way. If you don't vote and 100 others do vote, you may think that your vote didn't matter anyway. And in this particular scenario, purely based on the numbers, you're right. But if you do vote and 100 others don't vote because they didn't think their one vote mattered, then your one vote changes the course of history in that particular scenario because you were the only one who showed up. This is why every voice and every vote matters. Don't let anyone get you to believe anything different. Now, before I go, I'd like you to do a little exercise with me. Write down these 4 little words. What is my voice? I'll say it again. Write down these 4 little words. What is my voice? Now, together, we're going to say the sentence out loud 5 times. The first time, just speak plainly. Then, each time we say it, we're going to place emphasis on just the first word, then the second word, then the third word, and finally, the last word. Ready? Let's begin. What is my voice? 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 I hope you experience a little more power and conviction every time you ask that question of yourself out loud. And now I ask you, what is your voice and how will it influence your vote? You see, unless you are clear about your voice, such as taking action within your circle of influence to ensure liberty and justice for all, then you are just casting a ballot. But what I want you to realize is that you are much more powerful than that. I want you to value your voice by valuing your vote. In our first episode of October, the Insanity Check crew, Eloy, Charday, Adrian, and I, will talk about the craziness of not having ballots, an idea the president floated just a couple of weeks ago. In our second episode, we'll talk from a very personal perspective about what this year's election will mean to society in terms of the social unrest that seems to always be on a slow boil. Then, in my Real Conversations with Dr. Anita podcast, I'll be talking with our guest, Ms. Vicki Brox Allen, a conflict resolution subject matter expert, about how to discuss politics with those we love. Yes, that's right. We need to be reminded about how to disagree without being disagreeable, especially with our family members. Ms. Vicki will give us 3 tips to keep the peace in our homes around the Thanksgiving table, because we might be counting ballots until then. And until next time, this is Dr. Anita reminding you to stay blessed and keep it real.